Greetings, internet peopleoids. Darkly Dave here again. Sorry I haven't made a few videos in a while, but I've been crazy busy at work. Today, as indicated by the title of this video, I'm going to talk about 10 of my favorite lgbt QAI asterisks. You get the picture. Movies and a TV series as well. The TV series is, of course, Vicious, with Ian McKellen and Derek Jacobi. The second season hasn't come out on DVD yet, as far as I'm aware, at least not in Australia. And fantastic comedy series. They play a couple, and a young man moves in across the hall, or no, upstairs, and hilarity ensues. Some of the cattiest lines I've ever heard, and it's great fun to watch. You end up in stitches for most of it. For the next one, the classic, but unfortunately my sister's copy, so I had to get a movie 3-pack with other movies. Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, of course. An Australian classic, which also spawned Between a Frock and a Hard Place, a documentary by the ABC, which is, as the blurb says, the story of how an unlikely film changed the course of history and brought a celebration of gay culture to the world. It talks about what life was like when the movie was made and how things have changed. It also talks about the show going around the world, including going to South Korea, where it is said there are no gay people, apparently. So, seems a bit funny to me. Continuing with that theme though, of through history, relatively new one, Pride. This is a fantastic movie. Seriously, go and buy it. It's really touching. And it's set in Wales, which is awesome, because every time I hear the accents I think of my grandparents, which is great to hear and keeps their memory around. It talks about the group Gays and Lesbians Support the Miners, which was set up in Margaret Thatcher's England whilst the mining riots were going on, and the police were beating 7 kinds of shit out of the miners, beating 7 kinds of shit out of the gays, lesbians, etc. And people getting locked up for the most ridiculous reasons. It had maybe just barely been made legal at the time, and even still it had the ridiculous idea that ages had to be different whether you were gay or not, and that's crazy. So yeah, awesome film. If I had a rating system, I'd give it 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5, whatever. Really great. And I read an article by a guy who actually was part of Lesbians and Gays Support the Miners, and even he endorsed it. So he said it's fairly accurate, which is great for a based on true events sort of a story. And speaking of which, for the next one, hasn't come out yet on DVD, but I've got the soundtrack here. Holding the Man, which out in the movies this year. I think it's coming out in a month or two, and it's fantastic. It's a heartwarming story about 2 guys who fall in love in school and through the 80s. And like Pride, has a freaking kick-ass soundtrack. I mean, you've got T-Rex, Bronski Beat, Pete Shelley, Blue Oyster Cult. It's sounds of the times, and it's bloody brilliant. And it's a heartwarming story, but also ultimately a sad one, based on true events. 2 young men fall in love, right in the middle of the AIDS epidemic. And you can imagine how that goes. I won't spoil anything because I don't do that sort of thing if I can help it. On a lighter note, I have The Birdcage, which is a film with Robin Williams, Nathan Lane, Gene Hackney, Diana Weiss, and hilarious. I grew up with this, which might explain a lot, really. All classic sort of songs for a drag club are in there. A young man is brought up by two men, brings home a very nice young lady, whose parents are unfortunately Republicans. Hilarity ensues. Of course, some of the best lines I've ever heard are in this film, and my family still quote it, so always a plus. It's actually based on a French film called La Cage aux Folies, which I haven't got to see yet, unfortunately, but I keep my eye out for it. You never know when it'll turn up. Another one that's a little harder to find, but is, again, one I grew up with and it's brilliant. Some great lines in it. It's the Kevin Kline film In and Out. And this one's about a teacher who, on his wedding day, discovers he's gay. Surprise. And, yeah. Again, fantastically written story, great comedy, and if you ever see it, buy it. You will not regret it, hopefully, unless you've got vastly differing tastes to me, or no sense of humour. Continuing with the comedy theme is the one and only Kinky Boots, and this is a great movie. Again, English comedy, so of course it's fantastic. It's about a shoe company that's going out of business, and the young man who actually inherits the shop. He goes walking off in a huff, his life's sort of falling apart around him, and he meets Lola. Now, Lola is a transvestite, and I can't remember his name. Oh no! No, it's not on here. Damn it. Anyway, meets transvestite, saves him from a couple of chavs, to all intents and purposes, and proceeds, after seeing that the shoes he's wearing will not sport him, because he's a big boy, he decides to start designing women's shoes for men. And ladies, and those of you who have yet to make up your minds, or just don't want to. So, yeah, fantastic film. Again, great soundtrack. It's got These Boots Are Made for Walking, and great song In These Shoes by a young lady who unfortunately died before her time. So, yeah, awesome movie. Grab it if you see it. Kind of hard to come by now, but just hilarious. Yet again, continuing with comedy, I think most of these films are comedy, which is good. It's good to laugh. Is Connie and Carla with Nia Vardalos and Toni Collette. So you know immediately it's going to be freaking hilarious. And it's these two ladies madly in love with musical theatre. They unfortunately borrow money from a man who borrows money from Russian mafia. essentially. Gangsters, anyway. And they unfortunately see him get shot. Being witnesses, the mobsters are then after them. So they run off, Thelma and Louise style, basically, off to LA, where they discover the drag scene out there and decide to disguise themselves as women dressed as men dressed as women. The whole crux of the comedy. It's a really lovely film, actually, and a lot of the characters in it, revolves around the drag club. And as they work there, the club gets bigger and more well known and such and forth. Nia Vardalos, who plays Connie, no, Carla, Toni Collette's Connie, and she ends up falling in love with the brother of one of the drag queens, and again, hilarity ensues. It's a great film. If you see it, grab it. And very similar sort of humour to My Big Fat Greek Wedding and My Life in Ruins. Also two great films. If you see them, grab them because they're funny. And it's not one of those ones that tries to get too deep into things. It just has a laugh, and it's great for that. Same with Birdcage. It's not trying to delve in too deep. It talks about themes, but doesn't get dragged down. For my next one, Rocky Horror Picture Show. The musical of all time, in my opinion. If I got stuck on a desert island and could only watch one thing ever again, I'd probably pick this, if I didn't pick something like Doctor Who. This movie really is, well, it's Rocky Horror. If you haven't seen it, watch it. Don't care how you do it, go and see this movie. Or the stage show, if you can. I live out in the middle of freaking nowhere, so it's hours to get to anywhere that has a stage show like Rocky Horror. It's been around for, it's just had its 40th anniversary. Big fan not. But Tim Curry plays plays a sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania. Don't know what that is? Doesn't matter. You'll find out. Follows the story of Brad and Janet as they seek cover from a storm after getting a flat tire and come across Frank and the rest of the gang. Frank builds a creature called Rocky. A blonde, rather heavily built young man. And I won't give too much away because, you will have either seen this or, under my instructions, go and see it. It's top film / musical stage production TV. Written by Richard O'Brien? Yes, got the name right. Huzzah! Yes, Richard O'Brien, who also plays Riff Raff in this. And the man's a genius, honestly. Fantastic. For one that's a bit more of a classic film, and finish the list off to all intents and purposes, we have Some Like It Hot, with Marilyn Monroe, Tony Curtis, and Jack Lemmon. Similar sort of thing to Connie and Carla. In fact, it may be possible that's what it's based on. I'm not saying it is or not. And these guys owe money to the mobsters, I believe. Or they see... I haven't seen it in ages. I can't remember how it starts. They accidentally witness a gangland shooting. They quickly board a southbound train of Florida disguised as Josephine and Daphne, the two newest and homeliest members of an all-girl jazz band. The cover is perfect until a lovelorn singer, Marilyn Monroe, falls for Josephine, an ancient playboy. Joe E. Brown falls for Daphne, and the mob boss who refuses to fall for their hoax wants to put them on ice for good. Again, hilariously written, and some really good moments, especially towards the end. It's a nice story, actually, and everyone triumphs in the end. Huzzah! So, good film. Good, happy sort of film. And that wraps up the list of 10. However, I've got a special mention. Plunkett and McLean. Not actually an LGBTQAI asterisk film, but it gets an honorable mention because it has Alan Cumming playing a bisexual, pansexual fop, which is fantastic. And again, really, really funny film. If you see it, grab it. It's kind of hard to come by, again, because it's an older sort of film. It's got Robert Carlyle, Johnny Lee Miller, and Liv Tyler in it, and Adam Cummings. Alan Cummings is freaking awesome, and wears some brilliant sort of clothing. Like, it's my aspiration for my aesthetic, basically. And that's that. If you like this list, it's a bit higgledy-piggledy, feel free to hit the like button. It's really appreciated, guys, and when it comes up, it's awesome. You can also check out the rest of my videos in my channel by clicking either my name and following that link through, or searching in the top bar. You can also click subscribe if you want to be notified when I make more videos. Hopefully they'll get better as I go on. I should hopefully fix the lighting soon. I'm hoping to get a lighting kit because the lighting in my room's terrible. So yeah, I also have links to Twitter and Tumblr in the links below. Feel free to check them out. And if you enjoyed this video or have some more suggestions for different LGBTQAI asterisk films, leave a comment in the comment section below, and I'll be sure to read them. Thank you very much for watching, and good night.